Hello, I'm Lars with the Ahrex hooks. When you're tying dry imitations for mayflies, there are basically three ways that you can hackle them. You can use a traditional round hackle, you can use a parachute hackle, and then you can use a round wound hackle, as on this one, but where you clip the bottom flat to help the fly land correctly on the surface, but also give a more believable footprint. So I'll show you how to tie this fly, which also involves a nice little trick to get these nicely splayed tails. Come along. I am tying this fly on the Ahrex FW503. This one is a size 14, but the tying technique is good from size 10 down to a 20. And I just begin with attaching the thread, of course. And then I'm using this. It's called Faux Bucktail, which is a synthetic, very nicely tapered fiber, which I then just put in the hair stacker to get them to the same length. Tie them down on top of the hook shank. 2 or 3 turns, not too hard, because I'm now going to take all 3, pull them to the final length, which is about the length of the hook shank. And then tie them down all the way to where the bend begins. Make sure that they stay on top of the hook shank. Remove the waste. Now with your scissors, just try and get them separated a little bit. This can be a little bit fiddly, but it's doable with a little bit of patience. Just get hold of the far one and the near one. Now to splay them and make sure that they remain splayed while fishing, just take a piece of tying thread. Just loop that around the hook bend like that, and then I try and catch so that the middle fiber is caught within the loop, and then I can pull and stop when I have the splay I want. Tie that down. And then tie down the rest of the tying thread and remove the waste. Come back to where you tie down the tails. Take care that you don't move too far back and upset the tails. Just a little bit of dubbing. This is a mayfly imitation, so don't overdo it. Now dub forwards to about the 2/3 point. If you have a little bit too much dubbing, just remove it from the thread. The wing is polygon, which I comb through before I tie it in. Sometimes it has small knots in it. This one didn't. Just tie it in like that, right up against where the dubbed abdomen ends, and then move your thread to right behind the hook eye and tie down again as hard as you can. I'm going to fold this one back afterwards, so it has to be tied down hard so it doesn't slip. And just leave that hanging there. Now I'm basically going to use a round wound hackle, but I'll be clipping it underneath And instead of a cock hackle, I'm just going to use a cheap hen hackle, but you can use cock hackles, of course, if you want. Hen hackles aren't traditional for dry flies, but with a bit of floatant, they do just as well. Just like that. I tie in the stem. That's just a little bit too long. I'll remove a little bit. Like that. And now for the thorax, I'm simply using the same dubbing as for the abdomen. And just a little bit. Like that. Try not to go all the way forward because you want to have space to fold that back and tie it down. Now be careful when you wind this hackle because these small hen hackles have quite delicate tips. So, as I said, quite delicate tips. Just grab it again. Start with a full turn at the back. And then another 2 turns. Hen hackles are a lot denser than cock hackles, so you don't need more than 3 turns. Just tie it down, a couple of more turns, and then remove the tip, like that. Now I'm going to fold back this wing, so before I do that, I'll simply cut a path, so to say, in the hackle. This is in fact another good reason not to use expensive genetic cock hackles, because you're clipping away most of the hackle anyway. Fold the wing back. I just have a few fibers that are annoying me. Fold the wing back and then catch it with a single turn of tying thread, essentially forming a small head. That's not the point of it, it's just folding it back. And then sneak your thread forward to just behind the eye. And a 2 or 3 turn whip finish is all that's needed. Tighten up the knot and remove the thread. Now, just cut this off. Just comb out the wing, and as you can see, it's already got a very nice angle, sitting slightly backwards. And now cut it to length. I usually begin with cutting it a little bit too long. And now I'm just going to shape the wing so it looks like a mayfly. So just tilt it in the vise. And then I cut down like this. Essentially what you're doing now is cutting down the back part of this wing so it's quite short. And now just a quick cut. There you have a very nice mayfly shaped wing, nicely splayed tails, and all that remains now is to carefully flush cut the underside. Just take your time. Don't cut off too much, but also try and make sure that you don't have any fibers that stick down, because it just takes more or less the single fiber is enough to tilt the fly. So I'm just paying a bit of extra attention. That's it. Fly done. It lands perfectly every time because of the flush cut hackle, and the wing will of course act a bit like a parachute, and then the horizontally splayed tails will also help greatly in floating the fly. Thanks for watching, I hope you like it.